Hey guys, Ronray here, and today I'm going to showcase my Bloodlines endgame build. I think Blood currently is in a really strong position. As you can see on the screen, the build can pretty much clear Uber Lilith, all Uber bosses and tier 100 without any problem. The damage is huge since it utilizes the Overpower mechanic, which was buffed in Season 2. Let's look further into it. So talking about main build mechanics, we pretty much utilize the really high attack speed, since a lot of Vampiric Powers can buff it, and the bonuses from the Bloodlines, which give us a really cool chance to overpower every 6 hits. Since we are doing tremendous amount of hits, we can overpower pretty often, and crit pretty often as well. That way, only overpower hits are dealing damage, but since we are attacking pretty fast, more hits can overpower, and it pretty much stacks with itself. I think this season it's probably a strongest strategy, especially since Vampiric Power mostly based around attack speed, and they can buff it pretty strong. We can also use a few really cool aspects that we can find in the game, such as Wrath chosen for attack speed and accelerating aspect. Gork Wheels is pretty nice as well, since that way we will get additional blood lances, and since we are attacking pretty fast, we are creating a lot of blood orbs, and Gork Wheels will help us a lot as well. That's pretty much a reason why I'm using sword and a focus instead of two-handed weapon, since that way we can get even more attack speed and utilize the main power of the build, chances to overpower. And at the end, we are also using Banished Lord Talisman, which works amazingly good with all stuff that we are already doing. It gives us resource generation, and we really need it. It gives us chance to crit, which is really nice as well. And our critical strikes that overpower will deal much more damage. That way, I would say it's a perfect talisman right now, and it should work amazingly well in the build. We can consider it a main unique, so try to get this one as fast as possible. So talking about our abilities, that's pretty simple, especially at the start. We are starting with Hemorrhage as a form of basic attack, and we mostly use it for two reasons. First, we use it to get the essence when we just don't have it. Second, we use it to spam blood orbs as a form of a filler attack. And the last one, we use it to proc one of our Vampiric Powers, Moonrise, so try to use it pretty often. Our first bonus is Enhanced one, and the second is Acolytes. Acolyte is definitely really good, since 20% of attack speed is huge for your basic attack. That way you can attack with it faster and stack bonuses faster as well. Moving forward, we are using the Bloodlance, which is pretty much obvious, together with Enhanced Bloodlance and Supernatural Bloodlance. That way, every 6 attacks, our Bloodlance will overpower. This is a really strong bonus, since that way we will also spawn a Blood Orb. Since our attack speed is really fast, we will overpower pretty often, and it works really good in synergy with the build itself, which is mostly based on the overwhelming attack speed. I'm taking Imperfectly Balanced, together with Unliving Energy right here, and 1 point to heal with Flash. The Mist itself, right here, is pretty much a defensive ability, and we use it for two purposes. First one is to spam corpses, and second one to avoid damage overall. So the most important passive is Ghostly Blood Mist, since that way we can leave behind one corpse every second. So when you're joining the boss area, you can go into the Blood Mist and prepare the area to drop some corpses in there. This is a really good idea, and it will help us with a lot of synergy. So talking about the cursors, we have a few different options. We can use Decreepify right here, for slow damage reduction and stuff like this, together with Enhanced Decreepify and Abhorrent Decreepify. That way we will receive better cooldowns. Or we can use Iron Maiden instead. This preferences pretty much depends on what you like in the game, but I honestly prefer Iron Maiden in most cases, except maybe tier 100 farms. And you will ask me why, so Iron Maiden right here, with the bonuses, no longer cost essence. That way we are not losing the essence when we are casting, recasting it, and we can gain essence when we kill enemies and when we are curse them. That way we will be able to maintain our essence much better and we will have it much more often. There's also a second thing, we can heal for percentage of our maximum life when we are killing enemies afflicted with Iron Maiden. This is a pretty strong bonus since we should be healthy at all times. That's pretty much why I prefer Iron Maiden. But overall you can still use Decreepify if you like it more, together with Abhorrent Decreepify to make sure your cooldowns are better. So I'm also taking Death Reach and the Amplify damage, which is a really strong passive. Moving forward, I'm taking all the blood passives right here. So Drain Vitality, Tides of Blood, Coalescent Blood, Transfusion, and Gruesome Mending. All of them are really good, so just make sure you kinda get them all to the maximum. We're also taking Corpse Tendrils mostly for the additional bonuses and to crowd control enemies better. The first bonus is Enhanced one, and the last one is Plagued Corpse Tendrils, which will give us an access to Vulnerable. We need to make sure that at the bosses we have corpses spawned by Blood Mist, so we can cast Corpse Tendrils here and make enemies vulnerable. Moving forward, I'm using Inspiring Leader since we are healthy most of the time, and we will be able to get some attack speed out of this passive. As you can see, this bonus works for both you and your minions, so it perfectly works for us. We don't have minions at all. Standalone is a pretty nice bonus as well, since it gives us a damage reduction, which is pretty important stunt right now. And the last one is Memento Mori. It's a really strong one, it gives us a lot of additional sacrificial bonuses, and sacrifices are pretty strong right now. So when we are talking about the ultimate, there's like two options as well. We can use the Blood Wave together with Prime Blood Wave, and most importantly Supreme Blood Wave. That way we'll be able to spam a few Blood Orbs, and it's a really strong bonus, since we will be able to conjure our Blood Lances from the Blood Orbs that's been spawned. But honestly right now I still prefer the Bone Storm, mostly because of the defensive capabilities of the Bone Storm itself. We can get 15% of damage reduction while Bone Storm is active, which in my opinion is completely amazing. And the second thing is, our critical chances increase by 20% while Bone Storm is active. I think those bonuses are better than 3 potential Blood Orbs right here, that's why I pretty much prefer the Bone Storm over the Blood Wave. But if you really like Tides of Blood, you can pretty much take the Blood Wave here. And the last passive is Rathma Vigor. This is one of the most important ones, and after being healthy for 12 seconds, our next blast skill is Overpower. That's pretty much alright, but 12 seconds is pretty huge timer. So the most important part is the second one. Our timer is reduced by 2 seconds each time the Blood Orb heals or overheals us for additional life. That's really good. That way we can pretty much stack this amount of Blood Orbs through the basic attack and our Blood Lance as well, and it will pretty much help us to maintain our Rathma Vigors better. It works really easy in the game itself, you can just push out the button and it will work perfectly. You will attack fast, you will spam Blood Orbs, and you will pretty much use Rathma Vigors as well. So, talking about our items and aspects, that should be pretty simple in the defensive part. We are using the helmet with Aspect of Might, which is pretty good. It gives us 20% of damage reduction every time when we attack with basic skill. Since we need to use our basic to restart the essence, to get the Blood Orbs, and to get the Moonrise bonus, we should have it up almost all the time. The stats of the helmet are pretty simple as well. We can go for the health, for total armor, intelligence, and all stats are both pretty much good. You can also roll cooldown here if you care about it, but most of the time I just don't really need it. Moving to the chest armor, I'm using the perfect aspect of disobedience right here, since we need to stack our armor pretty high, so the physical damage will not do a lot to us. So total armor, maximum life, and any kind of damage reduction is really good at this item. Pretty much damage reduction from distance, damage reduction from close, or normal damage reduction, or even damage reduction while fortified. Overall, all of those work. For movement speed, I'm using the aspect of Ghost Walker right here. Since we are using the Vampiric Power, which gives us a lot of unstoppable, we should get 22% movement speed bonus all the time. At the item itself, it's really good to roll a pure movement speed, essence cost reduction together with intelligence, and the last stat can pretty much vary. You can go for all stats, you can go for damage reduction while injured, which I would say is pretty good right now. So try it out. There's also a possibility of using another set of boots for bossing. This set is a little different, as you can see, and use aspect of the exploiter. That way we can do more damage to unstoppable enemies, and most of the bosses are unstoppable all the time. So the set should be the same: intelligence, movement speed, essence cost reduction, and perfectly all stats. I just was unable to roll such item. So if you are bossing, you can pretty much choose to use those boots instead of Ghostwalker ones. So moving forward, our gloves are pretty simple as well. We need to use aspect of the grasping vines here to receive 20% of critical strike chance for 6 seconds when we use corpse tendrils. This is a really strong bonus, and it should help us to cap our critical strike chance. So try to get it on any of your offensive items as fast as possible. On the gloves itself, you can use the ranks of Bloodlands, Overpower damage, critical strike chance, and chance to restore primary resource. I would say this bonus for lucky hit chance is really important, since that way we can maintain our resource management a little better. Moving to the rings, right here we can use the aspect of Rathma Chosen, and that way we'll get even more attack speed, which is pretty alright. So on the item itself you can roll critical strike chance, maximum life, and a lot of additional stats. I would recommend getting resource generation and lucky hit chance instead of what I have on this ring, since this one is definitely not perfect. Moving to the second ring, this is the aspect of potent blood. That way we can maintain our essence pretty well. So on the ring itself, this one is working much better. Critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, maximum life and resource generation is pretty much what you should aim for. And the aspect of potent blood you can get from the codex, but perfectly you need to drop it with numbers close to perfect, like 19 or even 20 essence. If you don't have it, just try to use one from the codex. We can also see how our resistances work right here. As you can see, I have 70 resistances for all the elements, and it's pretty important right now in Diablo IV Season 2, since they changed the way how resistances work. How we can achieve it? Mostly we're getting our resistances from Paragon, and I already showcased it, but we need to add additional gems into our jewelry for 5 resistance to all elements, both for rings and amulet. That way we can get even more resistances, and it works really good for us. Don't forget about it, and make sure you have all your resistances capped at all time. So moving forward, I can showcase the weapons. I have tried a different set of weapons many times, but right now I think the wand or the sword and the focus is the best pair. Perfectly I think it should be the wand, but unfortunately I never dropped a good wand. So for now I'm using the sword and it's working pretty much alright. At the item itself, we need to have all stat, intelligence, overpower damage, and core skill damage. That way, we can get as many damage as possible. The aspect here is aspect of accelerating, which should give us a little more attack speed here and there, until we reach the cap. And at the focus, we are using the aspect of Gore Quills, which is pretty important. It conjures blood lances from blood orbs and should work really good. That way we can create like more blood lances, attack with them, and those blood lances will be able to overpower as well. On the item itself, the most important start right here is Lucky Hit chance to restore 20% of primary resource. Together with essence cost reduction, it helps us a lot with the resource management, and it works much better. Everything else could be critical strike chance, could be attack speed, could be any kind of bonus that you like. You would pretty much ask two questions: why not two-handed and why not Lindless Wall? I would say Lindless Wall is a decent option. So for now, I would say Focus still will work better, mostly because it has essence cost reduction, and it can also has additional damage bonus, since the damage bonus of the offhand as Focus is just higher. We can also roll critical strike chance and stuff like that. So I prefer Focus. If you want to use two-handed, you can try something like this. So it's a two-handed with aspect of Gore Quills, that way we are dropping the accelerating. It should be a sword with all stats, overpower damage, core skills, and the last one can pretty much vary. It could be vulnerable damage, it could be critical strike damage, any of it. But it will work out. However, currently I think the combination of sword and focus will work better. And moving to our unique items. The most important unique item in the build is Banished Lord Talisman. This one is pretty amazing and I already showcased it, and I think it's one of the strongest options for the build. Try to get it as fast as possible and use it at all times. 2 ranks of all core skills are a really huge damage increase, together with overpower damage, critical strike chance, and additional damage with critical strikes that overpower makes this talisman completely amazing. So moving back to our second unit item is Blood Moon Breaches. I think the bonus, 70% increased overpower damage from you, is really strong right now, since it's pretty much a multiplicative bonus. That way it can raise our damage really high. It also has maximum life and damage reductions, so try to apply your cures at all times. However, if you still struggle, there's a few different options, such as T-Bolt's Wheel or normal pants. I will showcase T-Bolt's Wheel a little later in the resource management part, but right now let's focus on the normal pants. We can just use a normal set with aspect of Shielding Storm, since we're using a Bond Storm, and total armor, damage reduction from different situations, or maximum life. That way we will receive much more armor. As you can see, it's like 2000 difference, and it could be a decent option if you are getting killed all the time. If it happens, try to use a normal pants instead. You will lack some damage for bosses, but you can pretty much change to Blood Moon Breaches on the bosses itself. The items, I will also show a perfect set of items in my builder link. Feel free to go into the description or into the first comment and click on it. Sometimes I just don't have a perfect roll on mine, but I will try to showcase what you should aim for. So talking about our essence management, we pretty much based on the aspect of the pot and blood. That way we need to spam as many blood orbs as possible. We can also roll resource generation on rings, which should definitely help, and stack as many lucky hit chance as possible as well. We're also using additional bonuses for lucky hit to restore 20% of primary resource both on focus and on the gloves. So with higher lucky hit chance we can spam more blood orbs and get this lucky hit proc much more often. However, if your essence is still not working really good, we can try to use the unique item called T-Bolt's Wheel that I'm showcasing right now. With the T-Bolt's Wheel, every time when you're dashing and evading with your skill, you will be able to restore essence, as far as you can see. So we can use T-bolts if your essence management is not really good. So even if you don't have it, one evade and you're pretty much at the full. However, you can change the pants from T-bolts to Blood Moon breaches or normal pants depending on the situation. It also stacks really well with the resource generation on the rings, so try to get this one as high as possible as well. So talking about our Book of the Dead, we have a few different options. Most of the time with the Paragon at level 100, I'm using the critical strike chance as the first sacrifice. However, if you're not 100 and don't have enough resistances from Paragon, you can use this one instead. This bonus for resistances is really strong, so if you don't have enough and you still need to cap them to 70, make sure you just use this one. But if your Paragon and your jewelry is pretty much aligned, you can go and take the critical strike chance bonus, which is really nice. The second bonus is self-explanatory, it's overpower damage, which is really amazing. So make sure to take it. And the last one, we have a few different options. I currently prefer Blood for maximum life increase by 10%, but there's like a second option, which should be Bone for 10% of increased attack speed. I honestly think that we pretty much cap our attack speed with a lot of different options, and it's not that important. However, if you feel like you don't have enough attack speed, you can pretty much take Bone instead. Otherwise, for tier 100 content, I honestly prefer Life. Alright, talking about our Paragon, this one shouldn't be too hard. As the first glyph, we are using Blood Drinker, mostly to get cool bonuses for armor and damage around, and get Fortify bonus from the Blood Orbs. This one is pretty important since it helps us to always maintain our Fortify. I'm also taking both Prime and Resilience, since it's pretty important to maintain resistances. I'm exiting through the right, and the next board is Bloodbath. So here, the glyph is Essence for the critical strike damage, and it's a pretty nice bonus. We are taking Dexterity ever around, and we are taking Healing received from Remedy. We don't need additional ones, but we are taking the main one. Bloodbath itself is a pretty strong bonus, so make sure to take this one as fast as possible. It will boost our Overpower damage, and will work really good with the build synergy. I'm also taking Thick Hide for damage while fortified, together with Soft Resilience for resistances, and Powerhouse for damage while healthy. We are healthy almost all the time, so it should work pretty alright. So the next board, right here, is Scent of Death. Scent of Death is pretty much used for damage reduction, especially in tier 100. It costs only 3 points for us, like 2 points out of 0, so it's a pretty good bonus. Most of the time we have corpses around, so we don't really need it for the damage bonus, just for damage reduction. I'm also taking Deathbringer to deal more damage to injured enemies, together with the armor right here, and Preservation together with Deathmarked. The glyph here is Dominate, and this one's probably the most important glyph in the whole build. It will stack tremendous amount of overpower damage, so just try to level this one to 21 as fast as possible. And take all the willpower around it. I'm exiting through the top, and the next board is Blood Begets Blood. This is a really good one, since it's pretty much an additional multiplicative bonus, which will give us damage when we consume the Blood Orbs with our Blood Lances. Since when Blood Lance conjured out of the Blood Orbs it's considered consumed, we will get this bonus pretty often. Glyph to the left is Sacrificial, since it gives us a really nice 10% bonus and an Overpower bonus damage as well. So we don't need to take a lot of stuff here. I'm taking only blood empowered and I'm not really going into the blood drinker. However, if your blood orb healing is not enough for Ratmoth, you can pretty much change a few points right here and take it with 1, 2, 3. It should be pretty simple. It will give you intelligence as well. So I'm also taking aggression and invigorated, since both bonuses are pretty nice, especially aggression. And make sure you have enough intelligence right here, since 45% of overpower damage is really cool. I'm exiting through the right, and the last board is Flesh Eater. Right here we don't need anything except resistances and targeted. I'm going right here to use the Corporeal as a glyph. Corporeal itself is a pretty nice damage multiplier. It could also give us resistances and damage to elites. The most important part then, with this, we can boost our resistances for the enough level to drop the sacrificial bonus of the resistances and take critical strike chance instead. So this is a pretty good idea at level 100, and try it out, it should work perfectly. So talking about our Vampiric Powers, I found a perfect combination of the pacts on an item. That's 11 Ferocity, 3 Divinity and 6 Eternity. This gives us a lot of different options and variations. Right here I'm showcasing my main Vampiric Power set. The most important one here is a Moonrise. It gives us a really nice attack speed bonus for 20%. It's not that much, but it's really easy to get. We can also get the Vampiric Blood Rage mostly for movement speed as well, and since Necromancer is not that fast, this is a really good option. So the second one is a Ravenous. Ravenous is like completely amazing. It gives us about 50% of attack speed bonus and it makes our attack literally like a minigun. The second one for defense is Undying, which is really nice. Since we are attacking pretty fast, every skill that we cast will heal us, and that way we can stay healthy at most of the times. Up here is Resilience, which is a pretty good one. That way we can get damage reduction, and damage reduction is pretty much strong this season. And the last but not the least is Metamorphosis. That way we can get Unstoppable and we can evade much better, so I can showcase it right now. So it looks pretty beautiful and it should feel much better. Why this setup right here out of the packs is perfect? We can choose it whatever we need. For example, if we need boss DPS, we can drop Resilience right here and take Sanguine Brace instead. We can also get rid of Metamorphosis and use Prey on the Weak. Look, our packs are still working. So I changed a few, but it's still alright. And it works perfectly. That way, we can use Prey of the Weak, for example, to get more damage to vulnerable enemies and kill bosses more easily. And Sanguine Brace. That way, when we are fortified, we will have 8% of critical strike chance. So this is a boss-in setup. For tier 100 instead, I'm showcasing the normal setup like this. If you don't really like Metamorphosis, it could be a reason you can drop it and you can get Sanguine Brace. As you can see, pacts are still holding. And this is amazing. So out of this basis, if we need a lot of clear, we can drop Resilience right here for open world activities and use Necromancer instead. That way we will be able to kill all the monsters around, since we are dealing 80% of our maximum life as physical damage and we have a lot of maximum life. So if you're doing Hell Tides or any kind of outside activities, you can pretty much just use Necromancer right here. But when you are going for tier 100, Necromancer is not longer a decent option. So we are dropping it and getting Resilience in. And pacts are still holding. So 11 Ferocity, 3 Divinity and 6 Eternity, currently a perfect setup which can be used with any kind of composition. and you can pretty much choose the packs whatever you want. So, this was my Bloodlands Necromancer build, and I hope you enjoyed it. I still think that some items could be upgraded and the damage can go even higher. But for now, I can say for certain that Blood is definitely strong in Season 2, and I hope it will be pretty much strong in the next seasons as well. Thank you very much for watching, please like and subscribe for more Diablo and Path of Exile content, and see you next time.